Some of the best programming is done on paper, which means that the most important is actually planning, preparing what content we want to put it there. I cannot say it enough. And you will see that using WordPress is much easier than Joomla for those of you who have worked with Joomla. Quick introduction about WordPress, not so much different than Joomla in theory. What is WordPress? Content management system, which means that it allows us to create and update a website without doing any coding, any programming, and editors to add and update content of a website, add files, reports, anything we've talked about this morning. There are different types of content. WordPress is originally a simple blog platform. We don't use that term blog much anymore. But basically it was all about posting articles about what's happening. And now WordPress have evolved a lot and became a real content management system supporting different types of content, including media documents, videos, even music if you wanted, and data, meaning which is our concern, statistical data, to some extent, meaning that it's not a full database system, but at least it helps us to disseminate the statistical data that we want to show our users and to share with our users. It's a template and plugin system, which means that we can easily customize the website under WordPress and extend it using plugins. And I'm sure that you already know that WordPress has thousands, if not 100,000 of plugins available, which also means that you can waste a lot of time trying to find the right plugin, because there's tons of them, and it's not easy to find the right one, and there's a lot of rules you have to follow to find the correct one. First one is make sure that it's kept updated, it's always updated, it works with the latest versions of WordPress, and meaning it's always maintained. And if it's popular, it's a good sign. Also, if you see there's only a couple of people using it, man, you can skip it. If there's thousands or hundreds of thousands, then that's good. But anyway, to help you find, not waste too much time, we've already selected a few plugins that we're going to show during the next few days to demonstrate to you. We believe the plugins we've selected are the ones that fulfill all our needs, meaning displaying data and sharing files and other things helping improving the navigation on the website. So we'll go through them. The pros of WordPress, pros and cons. WordPress is definitely the most popular free content management system. It is free as open source free, which means that you can grab the source, you can use it, you're free to use it at any time, but if you're looking for support, then there are some companies that do that, and we, as CPS, towards our members, we provide support to you. So if you have any questions, you can always come back to us. It's SEO ready. We talked about SEO, it's over there. Search engine optimization. It's one of the strong points with WordPress. Its strong advantage is that it's already pretty good without the use of any plugin. It's already pretty good for search. It's pretty good and pretty search engine friendly. There are lots of contributors. That's why there are lots of plugins available, and also that's why it's always WordPress core. WordPress itself is always maintained kept up to date, make sure it's always secure. So there's 3 to 4 updates a year, so it's quite a lot. But the update process is very, very easy. So it's compared to other systems such as Joomla or Drupal. Drupal is quite difficult to maintain. WordPress is pretty good at that. Lots of plugins and themes available, both free and commercial, so I've already mentioned that. Usually, well, it's always difficult to decide if we should go for a free plugin or a paid one. There are lots of free plugins that are really great, and there are quite a few commercial plugins that are good, and there are also some commercial plugins that are not good. So it's not really a criterion. It's not because it's free or it's because you have to pay for it, but it means that it's good or bad. It's not really a real criterion. And yeah, as I mentioned, frequent updates. It's also one strong criterion. You have to make sure that your plugins or theme are always kept up to date before you select them. Cons. Drawbacks of using WordPress is that you pretty start from zero when you start with just downloading WordPress, and you can spend a lot of time to customize it. It can be a slow application, especially if you keep adding plugins. The more plugins you add, the slower the application gets. So if you have plugins that you installed and tested and you realize it's not the good one, delete it. Don't keep it. Keep your application as simple and clean as possible. And because it's that popular and so many people are using it, it's obviously a big target for hackers. That's why you have to keep WordPress up to date. Every time there's an update available, well, try to apply it as soon as possible, so you are sure that way you are sure you can keep your website secure. That said, in your case, we host it on our servers, and our servers also have other layers to make sure it's secure. So there's firewall behind it. There's Cloudflare for those who knows it. So we hang behind a lot of security programs. So it's still we need to keep it updated, but we're pretty good. And yeah, but that said, it's not always easy to secure, especially when you use free themes and plugins, because depending how popular the plugin is, sometimes they don't update it right away, and you can create a bridge in your website. So again, you have to make sure you choose the right plugins and you don't install ones you don't use. So as I said, WordPress is open source, but it's easy to be confused between when you look for WordPress on the web, because there's WordPress.org and WordPresscom to start with. .org is where you find the source of and the code for WordPress, also the free plugins and themes. It doesn't mean that everything on WordPress.org is free. If you look for a plugin, even commercial companies, they add some free version of their plugin in there, and once you installed, we could quickly realize that it's actually not free. But still, it's a great start point. Go on .org and look for a plugin there, and you will see everything that's available. WordPress.com is actually a hosting service. It's not free at all. And if you use WordPress.com to host your WordPress, then you won't have access to every plugin available, because they select the ones that are they believe are secure enough and also are compatible with their own platform, because it's not a simple WordPress setup. It's a very large scale installation of WordPress. So not every plugin is compatible, available there. In our case, we simply don't need to use WordPress.com. Either we host your website or you use your own server, so you don't go through WordPress.com. And there's another option called multi-site, WordPress multi-site, and that's what we're going to use during our workshop. Basically, we set up only one WordPress, and then we create sites under only one single installation. The great thing about this is that when we update one website, I mean plugin or theme or WordPress itself, we update them all. So everything is secure at once. We don't have to go through each website. And so if we host 10 websites, then all 10 websites are up to date at the same time. And it's only one administrator who takes care of all this. That said, every site administrator, we will go deep, we will talk about that a bit more later on, but every website administrator can do whatever they want with their own website. It's just the maintenance part that is taken care at a central point. We're going to go for this on SPC because it's obviously easier to keep things up to date and secure. And it doesn't stop you from doing whatever you want. How does WordPress look like? So how does it look like? Well, like every CMS, you first have to log in to access the backend. There's the backend, what we call the backend or the administration, is the place where you can access all the content that you've created and manage all the content, also manage the plugins, the themes, the users. You have to log in, meaning that you have to use a username and password. I can talk about username and password that you should update every other week or so, if you want to really be secure, but none of us do. I shouldn't say that on camera. But yeah, try at least to have a complex password with a mix of letters and numbers and symbols. And the front end is what your visitors see. Now WordPress is great at one thing, is you can browse your website on the front end, and you still have links to go directly to your back end and edit pages or content directly from front end, which means that you navigate your website as any other visitor would do, and you edit almost directly the content from there. For those of you who have used Joomla, especially the old versions, you cannot do that. You have to open the administration in one window and the site on the other window, which is not as easy to use as WordPress is. Building your website with WordPress. Well, I've already used those words before, but to make things clear, a theme is the way defines how your website looks like, defines the layout. It can define a few features, define where the navigation links will be on your page, and you can define the colors, the font you use. You will use a theme for that. There are tons of themes available. Some are very strict, meaning that they define everything and there's not much room for customization. And some others, like the Divi theme, is highly customizable. So using one single theme, you can create many different websites, and you can pretty much do whatever you want. The drawback using such a theme is that, well, you start from zero and you have a lot to do to start with. While if you use a very specialized theme, it's already all in there. Plugins, so it extends the features of WordPress. By extending, it can change the way you log into the website. It can change the way you manage content, you manage images, the way you upload your files. It can do so many things. It will take a week to explain them all. But basically, WordPress is pretty simple to start with, and when you add plugins, then you just extend its features. The widgets can be part of a theme or a plugin. The widgets are little piece of code that you will add using the backend. You will add in some part of a page to integrate a feature that has been extended by a plugin, for instance. So it doesn't make much sense at this point, but we will see through examples what widgets are. And menus is where you create your navigation. So that's where you add some links. You usually use menus to add internal links, so from a section to another, but it can also be an external link. And all goes in another part called menus. Maybe I can show you how it looks. This is a sample website that we've created with Billy. And first of all, I need to log in to a backend. So this is what we've seen. Here I put the username and password. Right, so here's I've logged in as site administrator. So I have a pretty big menu, a big list of options there, where I can access everything. What I was talking about are plugins, for instance. So you can see a list of plugins that we've installed. The themes come from the appearance menu. So here you can see that we installed 2 plugins, and this one is active, so that's the one we're using now, and this one is available, but we can't use more than one theme at a time. We have, what else did I want to show you? Plugins, themes, widgets, widgets. So usually the theme defines zones, what we usually call sidebars, but it can be zones or areas in the footer. And those are the zones, and the widgets are, those 3, for example, are widgets that are added in one area of a page. The sidebar this is a page, this is the sidebar, and this area is defined by the theme, right? And it's called sidebar. And here I can see in the sidebar that I have 3 widgets. First one is a menu to census and survey pages. Second one is a list of recent updates. And third one is just an image. And if I look at the page, I have menu of pages under census and survey, recent updates, and an image with a link to pub.js. So those are 3 widgets that I've added in the sidebar. And as you can see on the left here, there are many widgets available, and you can even create more widgets using plugins. So it's an endless list, really. Menus, the last thing I wanted to talk about before I go back to the presentation. Menus is where you create your navigation. So here at the top, we have a few links, and this is a menu. And this is another menu. And that is another menu. So we created different menus. And as you can see, the main menu, the one at the top, has the list of pages, main pages that we created before. So it kind of shows the sitemap of our website. We are actually now getting into the most important part of the site, the content itself. And in WordPress, it's divided in two main different types of content. There are pages and there are posts. The difference is really on the way we use them. Pages, we use pages to create the structure of a website. Pages are not meant to move much. We don't update them too often. We create them to create the structure of a website. They might integrate some widgets or some dynamic content, but themselves we don't. Once we're done with them, we don't update them much. While posts, which is the original goal of WordPress, posts are articles that we keep updating, we keep adding. And basically we use posts when we want to publish a new release, we want to advertise for a new event or a new census, or we have a new set of a new data set available. When we would create a post to announce it, and and that way we have an archive of all the updates we make, and a visitor, a returning visitor, someone who keeps coming back to our website, will see right away which is the last update, and we'll know that something has been updated or not. And if he wants to know what has been done a year before, he can come back to the previous articles and see what has been done in 2018, 17, whatever. So it's quite powerful, but we need to organize them. And to organize those posts, we use what we call a taxonomy, which is made of categories or tags. And basically we were talking this morning about topics, statistics topics. So we would create a page called CPI, in which we would add all the articles about CPI. How do we know an article is about the CPI? Well, we create a category called CPI and we add those articles to that category. And an article can belong to many categories. So if we're talking about population and we have created a category population and a category census, and the data we're releasing comes from a census and it's about population, then we can tag the article with both population and census, so it comes up in both places. So we create one article and then we can share it in different places of the website. Tags is a bit the same, but while categories, we tend to make them in a hierarchized way. Like tags is just flat. We just put whatever tags we want. And it's not necessarily linked to the structure of a website. We tend to create a list of categories that are consistent with our website, while tags can be anything. Comments are not part of taxonomy. Comments are comments you get from your visitors. This is great when you want to run a forum, when you want to get some feedback from your users. That said, it takes a lot of time to run a website with comments, because if you let people comment on any post that you create, first of all, you can get some spams. There are some visitors that we'll just create a comment to actually promote their own website, and don't really care about yours. It needs a website that has comments needs to be moderated, and I don't think any of us will need this. So, which means that if we use WordPress, we have to make sure we disable it. And if you want to enable it, well, plan this well, because you know you will get a lot of comments. WordPress can, as I said before, helps us manage all kinds of media, which means images, videos, and even sounds. I'm pretty sure none of us will actually host music on our website, so we don't really care about that. If we could at some point have some videos, could be interesting. So it's capable of that, but there's also other solutions. So if at some point you will need to add some videos, well, we can talk about that. I will not get too deep into this subject. But images, sure, we use images, starting with logos, as you can see in this example. Logos, illustrations, if every time you make a new post, you might want to add an illustration in there. Even though it's not WordPress, it's the same logic behind it, meaning this is an article, and so it has a title, a summary, and an image to illustrate that. So if you want to add images to each article, you can do that using WordPress, and those images will go into the media section of the website, which is right there. And as you can see, we have a bunch of images here, and this is not we've added a plugin already in this to be able to have folders, because originally WordPress doesn't allow us to have folders. So this is an example of what plugin does. It extends features in WordPress. So it makes using plugins we can make things even better for us. Now, if you start adding images to all content, then be aware that you will probably spend quite a lot of time finding images all the time, in the right format as well. I told you that finding the right plugin is not easy. Well, it's very time consuming. So here are a few we already selected for you, and ones that actually you, Melee, or actually Pua used. First one, WP File Download, is a plugin that allows us to create a document library. So instead of using the media part of WordPress, we create a full document library where we can add all sorts of documents, organize them in folders and so on. And this plugin also counts the downloads you get, so it helps you follow how many people download your documents. So it's quite an interesting feature. And it's also, if you create folders, it's easy to integrate a part, one specific folder in a page. So to give you an example, CPI, we have quarterly reports. Then you create a folder called CPI, you add your reports as they are released. You may organize them in subfolders per year, or even per year would be enough, I guess. And then you integrate this folder in a page or in a post. So when you want to announce the new release of a CPI, then you will create a post. Say this is June 2019 release. You may even write a short text to explain the key, to give key numbers, if basic is going up and down, and then you will link to this, to the folder in there, so people can then download the full report. That's how most of the statistical websites do. It's an option. WP data tables. This is a plugin that helps us create tables, as we've seen this morning, HTML tables, so tables we integrate directly into a page. This is great. It's not too simple, but a good thing about it is that you can, for instance, create a table from an Excel sheet. So if you already have a few Excel sheets on your computer and you don't want to recreate them all by hand, you can import them and it will create tables. And from there, you also have an option in that plugin to create charts. So by just a few clicks, you will have a table with the data and a chart with columns or a pie chart or whatever, and you don't have to spend too much time on it. And if you update the table, the chart will be updated directly as well. So this can be very interesting. And so we could have something that would look at what we've seen this morning. We had an example there. Something like this. On this website, it's an image that you created by hand. We could have created in one go. We just create this table, and with a plugin, we just click on one button to say I want a chart from this table, and boom, we have a chart. We can then integrate wherever we want. And if we update or add a new column or whatever, then the chart is updated. We don't have to recreate an image every time. So that's one plugin. There are many plugins that allows us to do this, and we selected this one. But if you already know another one, or if you want to use another one, surely you can. And WP data charts is the one that comes with data tables to create charts. I'm going to skip on projects because the Divi theme, for those of you who've already used it before, creates a new content type. There are pages, posts, and projects, but projects are meant to be used if you create a portfolio website. So basically, a photographer wants to show up, to show his work, he would use projects, but we won't use them. So I won't talk about that much.